Spotlight with Shadow, a Canadian dad who's got his finger on the pulse of global entertainment and sports. Each episode features unfiltered conversations with everyday creatives, musicians, wrestlers, filmmakers, and more from every corner of the globe. No fluff, just raw, real stories. This is Spotlight with Shadow, presented by Off the Top Media.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Spotlight with Shadow. I am your host, Shadow. Today I am joined by someone who probably doesn't need an introduction to the world of everything. He is a world record holder. He is a former Mr. Owasso. He is an indie wrestler. He is a DJ. He is a commercial marketer. He is also the trophy husband of a former Detroit Lions cheerleader. He is Casey Chewy Lambert. How are you doing, my guy?
Good evening, Shadow. And it's so funny. I forgot that I did the voiceover for your opening for your show. So if I sound familiar, I am that guy.
Yeah, I love it, man. It really fits the bill of what we do here, and I'm happy that I was able to have you do it, and very much appreciative of that.
Hell yeah, brother.
So we're gonna skip the pleasantries. We're gonna dive right in. Tell me what little Casey was up to and where and how we got to this point a little bit.
Oh, geez, man. 37 years ago, God put me on this green earth, and I guess I'm here now. Like the long and the short of it.
So what was life like as little Casey, I guess?
Man, like you know what? People always talk about their childhoods, and it's like you hear it. I have so many friends that talk about their childhoods, and they have so many complaints about him, you know. But I grew up in Sterling Heights and then Holly, Michigan. 3 other brothers. I was number 3, and we're the typical American gotta do everything family. You know, Dad was a former all-state catcher. He used to work on the shipyards down in Mississippi welding ships, and Mom was a Detroit girl, and they really made it a point to give us a good, like, learning childhood, if you know what I mean. Like, we learned life lessons when we were younger, and not always taught by them. You know, sometimes we'd be taught by, my brothers or our friends. But yeah, man, we had an awesome upbringing, and my 3 brothers, man, I love them so much. 2 of them are going to be dads here shortly. So the girl dads at that. So we went from 4 boys to now 3 girls. Welcome to my family. But yeah, man, it was great. Holly, Michigan was a great place to grow up. Very remote, but also very close to Flint, Michigan. And we didn't have we weren't rich by any means. We were actually pretty poor, but you never would have known it, man. Like, you never would have known it. It was great life growing up.
That's a solid life when you can acknowledge the fact that you didn't have the richest upbringing, but you never knew that. That means your parents did something really well.
Oh yeah. My mom, cancer survivor, just all around great freaking woman. And my dad, the funny thing about my dad, is I did musical theater in high school along with my 3 sports and academics and everything. But he would always give me crap for being on stage and pursuing musical theater as an interest. But it turns out, like, later in life, I get to know my dad beyond just my dad, and like, this is the most artistic dude in the world. Like, he's a master welder, and now he does, in retirement, he makes welding sculptures.
Heat.
Yeah, he also plays Santa Claus.
Well, I mean, you have the beard, so I'm assuming you get it from him.
Oh, heir to the throne, buddy. Heir to the throne.
I wouldn't assume your mother, that saint she is, doesn't have one of those. So
no, she doesn't. But yeah,
so,
Lisa Lambert is an angel.
I'm going to dive into a bit more of your life, but I also forgot the most important title you've ever been called in your life, and that's Dad.
Oh man, 5 months old little Allison is now, and I kid you not, Shadow, she chases chickens around the house.
Love that.
She loves the cats. She is the happiest little girl in the world. Her sister, my fiance's 4-year-old daughter, weighs about 40 pounds or 20 kilos ish, I guess. That's
we
right.
talk ones up here in Canada.
Yeah, not talking freedom units. We're talking keys. But she, like, Palmer will stand on the back of Ellison's walker, and she'll walk around the kitchen with her 40-pound weighted backpack on her walker.
I love that. You also have a 20-something-year-old son
12.
that's about to bring in your grandchild, if you will. We can't forget my partner in crime, the young buck himself, Nate.
No, we're over the moon, man. We are so proud of them. Courtney and I obviously are great friends with Nate and Brittany, and we couldn't be happier, man. He's going to be a fantastic dad.
For reference of this interview, Nate is just friends with Chewy. It's just an inside joke that Chewy's his dad. So,
treat him like my son.
I love that. So you've done all these things, and I mean, you've lived a life in 37, and you've lived what most people don't even accomplish in 60, 70 years. So let's talk about the hometown stuff first. Mr. Owasso, how did that become, and why did it become?
So I currently live in Owasso. I grew up in Holly. I moved to Owasso, I think it was 11 or so years ago. It just happened to be midpoint for my job when I was traveling regionally, and it was a good buy. This was right when the real estate market in the U.S. was starting to recover from the 2008 recession. So I got a house for cheap, completely forewent the apartment thing. I was 24 years old or something, but bought my first home here. Like, it was a good buy. Market went up. I had a chance to sell double at what I bought it for, and I really just decided, I'm going to stay here. Like, Owasso is home. And it's funny because only in only a decade, you go from not knowing a single soul in a town to, like, being so intertwined with things. Like, I own commercial real estate here now. I met my soon-to-be wife here. We had a kid here. Like, you just kind of ingrain yourself in a small town America. I know you hear about it all the time on the movies and the TV and everything, but you don't really feel the heart of it until you're there. And that's Owasso, Michigan to me. So obviously when you're ingrained in a community, you start to be a little more philanthropic with things and getting involved in community causes. And that's where the Mr. Owasso competition comes in. It annually since 1980 has raised over $4 million for local charities. So I'm talking like in where we call Shiawassee County in Michigan, which is very sparsely populated, under-incomed, mostly agriculture here. But the Mr. Owasso competition allows, guys to represent a charity and try to raise as much money as possible. And if you raise the most money, you win. You're Mr. Owasso for the year. And that was in 2023. And it's kind of cool, Shadow. Like, we're a very tight-knit group of men, like dating back to winners from the 80s until now. We get together, we share beers, we try to help out with the community as much as we can. It's kind of like a really cool fraternity with guys in their 80s and guys in their 30s.
That's really awesome. I definitely feel the hometown small community thing. I mean, I live in a small town here in Canada. Mm-hmm. And, I, like you, I didn't know a single soul. I wasn't really a part of the community kind of thing. Both my older children play community sports. So, I mean, I've learned and I've taken into the culture around here. And, I'm now pretty much know half the town, if not the whole town, just by that. And they know my kids. Everybody looks out for everybody. So I love that. And the Mr. Owasso thing seems like something that I should suggest to people around here, but call it what it is here, right? Mm-hmm. Definitely, there's lots of underprivileged things that could use the funding. Okay. So from Mr. Owasso, I want to go into let's go into the world record holding. Mm. So how does that become a thing? Obviously, I'm sure you didn't just pick up a book and go, "Yep." No, I'm sure there's more to it. So let's hear about this.
Oh man, that's hilarious. So let me just preface this by saying, in elementary school here in the States, we have this traveling thing called the Scholastic Book Fair.
That was here too.
Yeah, or at least we did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And, besides all the Lisa Frank notebooks and cool Michael Jordan posters and children's books written by random authors who wrote like a single book, there was always the Guinness Book of World Records. And man, me and my friends, and as I've come to know, like so many kids would like flock to the Scholastic Book Fair just to grab this Guinness Book of World Records and check it out and be like, oh, this is the tallest man in the world. He's got the world record. You know, this guy's deadlift was this much. Like, that's crazy. That's superhuman. So like I've been a fan since I was a kid, right? It's ridiculous. It was ingrained into me from a small child. So fast forward many moons later, I was just getting divorced, and so I started to see a therapist, and she's absolutely wonderful woman. I didn't want drugs because they prescribe drugs so easily here. And so my primary care physician actually suggested this lady, and she's a child therapist. And I was like, okay, you know, whatever, as a big burly man, I'll go in there. But man, through some great work, we kind of came up with what we call the post-divorce bucket list. And the first item on that list was to get a giant tattoo. I had a bunch of smaller ones, but now I have one that covers my chest, my shoulder, my back. It's freaking awesome artwork, man. 16 hours in a chair, John Hill at Consolidated Tattoo in Flint. Great job, man. That was number one. Number two was travel 1 weekend a month for an entire year alone. So I would just like get on Google Flights on Wednesday and be like, what's the cheapest ticket? And at that time you could go like $79 round trip to Miami. It was awesome. And I met a lot of cool people out there on the road, made a lot of experiences, just kind of to shape and find who I was, you know, by myself. And then the third was, I'm going to break world record. And like, she was like, well, that's pretty ambitious, but you know, try it. So, you know, like anybody, I'm looking through the book, which is now online. And like, I could break the record for like furthest distance to catch a hot dog in a bun or something like that. But then I was thinking about it, I was like, what's something that like actually would mean something to me? And I have been training in CrossFit and Olympic weightlifting for a while. And, you know, I'm mediocre at it, but I always had like really strong posture with my arms above my head and in deep squats. Like I have a very gymnast type build, even though I'm like really big gymnast. But anyway, I decided that I'm going to break the world record for most weight overhead squatted in a minute. So we set up this whole thing, you know, get approved for it. It takes 12 weeks. I'm going to do it at the Oktoberfest tent that we have here in Owasso, Michigan, because it's a community event and, you know, community people. Anyway, broke it very easily. It was so cool. I think it was one of the first times I actually remember my dad saying he's proud of me. Which is like he loved us.
The era we grew up in is not that loving.
Yeah, but you know, he had a different way of expressing it when we were younger, you know.
Right.
But yeah, broke that, and then a couple years later, the Live with Ryan and Kelly show at the Disney Studios called, and they're doing a world record breaker series, and they're like, you know, hey, do you think you can maybe break this one again? And I looked at the schedule. I said, that's in 2 weeks, and I haven't been training for it in the least bit. I was actually training for the North American Open Olympic weightlifting competition, and it's two entirely different training tracks. And you know, Courtney had encouraged me, hey, you know what's the worst that can happen? I'm like, you know, embarrass myself on national TV. So anyway, the record that I had set in 2018 was 4,844 pounds. And
Jesus,
the second time I broke that, on 2 weeks training after a flight to New York on 9/11, like, you know, just nothing, 6,144 pounds. So beat it by about 1,300 pounds.
Damn.
Yeah. So that was, that was really cool. It's cool to break it the second time. It was awesome because I have so many friends that are educators and teachers, and they could have their classes tune in and watch it. And it was it was awesome. It was awesome to be able to do it for, the people you love back home.
I absolutely love that for you, and that story just makes it so much better knowing you have educating friends that have classes that now watch that, and they'd be like, "Yeah, that's my homie. Like, I know that man, right?"
Well, it's cool, and like you want to say, man, you and I grew up very similar, Shadow. Like if you are blessed enough to gain a platform, or with the skills to, be fruitful, you bless those around you more than yourself, because you're not responsible for that, man.
Yeah.
Like that was God's plan with you, and you need to make sure to use it for other people.
Yeah, that's fair. So I'm going to go from, it's an easy segue here. We're going to go from the world record lifting weights and all this to your indie wrestling career, which has just taken off in the last couple of years itself. So tell me how that journey's been and where that's taken. Because I know the Wrestle Bros are a thing, and you and Nate and all the other boys there. And now you're just independently doing it yourself, I think. I don't think any of the other guys are too into it now, but
yeah. Well, it's so there's this company around us called Pure Pro Wrestling, and I had been to a couple of their indie shows. And a few years ago for Christmas, I bought all the Wrestle Bros and I, a couple hours worth of a lesson at a real wrestling school, man. Just thought it'd be cool. Thought it'd be awesome, man. We went in, Coach Xavier Justice, also known as the Ginger Taker. He put on a great 2-hour class privately for us, 5 guys, man. And it was fun, but you definitely realize that it hurts a lot. Like if you're someone who doesn't do well with pain, it's not for you. But man, we had a blast, and it was like, okay, cool. And the whole time he's like, you guys should like actually pursue this. Like, you picked up this much in 2 hours. He's like, you understand storytelling. He's like, yeah, you should actually do this. Of course, we're all like, it's not our thing, but we'll support you. Well, a couple years after that, I started my Mr. Owasso campaign, and one of the things that I wanted to do to raise funds was to hold a indie show here in town. And sell tickets. Like, it's great because we're always encouraged to do events that are like close to things that we love. And so I called up Xavier Justice, and I was like, hey, what would you think about doing this? And he's like, we actually were looking to do that. Like, Owasso is almost like a territory of what we do. They're based out of Flint, Michigan. And I was like, yeah, well, let's do that, man. He's like, cool. He's like, do you want to, like, since it's your show, like, you want to do like a spot or something? And I was like, oh, yeah, no, that'd be fun. That'd be great. And he's like, wait. He's like, you want to do a match? So I'm like, okay, whatever. You only get one shot at these
you
things.
need to sell me on it. I'm here for it.
Might as well. And you, like, know me enough to know I'm not just going to be like, oh, I'll go and do a match and like go to 2 trainings. No, like, I trained hard for like 4 or 5 months because I didn't want to embarrass myself. And he put me, so basically to set the show up, they did a show 3 months prior in Owasso. I was gonna break my own world record, and a big guy, Gideon Malice, who's like 6'5", he's up there in age, but like an absolute legend of the indie wrestling scene here in Michigan. All around great dude. Grabbed my world record certificate and shattered it over my head, like real glass, like not gimmicks. And we had a scuffle, and I was like, I'll challenge you to a match. And that was supposed to be the charity night we did. Like, was supposed to be me versus him. Well, turns out the promoter also booked another show for shortly after that. So Gideon and I wrestled one-on-one, awesome 10-minute match for my first match, and it ended in a screwy finish. I had him pinned. His buddies from the Nomads like distracted the ref, and then choke bombed and lost. But then Coach had the suggestion. He's like, why don't we do a 5-on-5 street fight match? And he's like, and you can have the Wrestle Bros. So of course I go to the guys, and I'm like, guys, we got to do this. Like, come on, might be your only chance to ever do this. And for a few minutes it was, but 3 weeks after that, we had this epic street fight match. None of us had ever been in a match with weapons. I'm the only one who had ever been in an actual match. And it was just, it was a blast. Like, the Nomads that we were facing were so cool to work with. And let me just say that the thing that hurts the worst isn't tables or chairs. or kendo sticks. It's golf bags.
Okay.
Just don't wrap your eye around it.
I'm not gonna try. That's insane.
Yeah, so I thought that was the end of the journey. Of course, indie wrestling has its way to pull you back in, and I think I've wrestled 6 matches since then, 6 or 7 or 8. It's really cool because I can use that world record platform right over here to kind of like make an excuse to be a part-timer. In it, like I never want to go in and steal the spotlight from these men and women that are working real hard to like actually make it in pro wrestling. So a lot of what I focus on is being able to put over the young guys and girls and help them out, mentor them a little bit. I haven't been in the business of wrestling for very long, but I've been in it my whole life. And because of my media capabilities, because of my marketing background, like I'm able to help them out on more than just an in-ring level. And it's awesome, man. Pure Pro Wrestling, if you never checked it out, just pureprowrestling.net, check some stuff out. They're on YouTube as well.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of guys that I've interviewed from an indie promotion up here, Northland Wrestling. We'll definitely tell them to check it out. Maybe work something out where they come down and do some shows with you, or maybe just the people you know, kind of thing. We'll have to figure that out. I'll pass it along for them.
Yep. Looking forward to that.
Well, so if you guys hear it, go check them out. All right. So you went into your media background a bit, and I want to go into the DJing. I'm leaving the marketing for last because I feel like that's a little bit more detailed.
Nerdy. Yeah.
The DJ thing, and you don't go by DJ Casey, you don't go by DJ Lambert, you go by DJ Chewy. So I need to know 2 things. I'm assuming the Chewy thing is because you're hairy as fuck.
You're right.
But like, what got you going with the DJing thing? Just something you picked up an aux cord one day and said, "Shit, I rock this shit," and just go.
No, man, it was a lot of people don't know this, Shadow, but my background is actually in radio and television broadcasting. Like that's what I'm trained to do, and I did a little of that, and my first gig was at a top 40 station, CK 105.5 in Flint, and I met this dude named Chachi, and he was on the morning show, and like me, go getter. I ended up on the morning show, like hired off of an intern after like 2 weeks. Now I'm on the morning show with Chachi, and he's just like this cooler dude. Like he's like my 10-year-old older brother. We look the same, we sound the same, we kind of act the same. He's this little Italian guy who went to Flint Central High School, who was in musical theater productions and played soccer. But man, we really hit it off, and he was already doing mobile DJ work. And like he was, pretty good on the turntables. And he's like, man, he's like, you're really good on the radio. He's like, you ever think about like doing like night gigs or something? He's like, I can book you up with some gigs. And at the time, my older brother Jesse decided that he wanted to be a DJ, and he played one gig and he hated it. So I bought his equipment, and just kind of got started. My first like regular gig was in a roller rink. And that's kind of where I learned to play with turntables, because they had like a digital system and you had to drag and drop a song in. But you know me, I have to do things differently. I found the old Technics 1200s from like 20 years before that underneath the DJ booth, and I picked them up and I wired them up, and I found a mixer, and I found some old Hall & Oates and Earth, Wind and Fire records. And man, on adult nights, I used to spin true vinyl, and I started to, this is like the beginning days of YouTube, so like 2008. Found some old Jam Master Jay videos. If you don't know him, it's Run DMC's DJ. Learned how to break beat and was like, okay, well, this is cool. And, so I'd play gigs with Chachi, bar gigs, the occasional wedding and things. And then I, got into the club scene a little bit and played around there, like the 2012-ish time period. And it was fun. The clubs aren't the scene for me, but I got to do some mini touring with like Tim McGraw and Machine Gun Kelly, and opening up for those guys. And man, I'm happy right now. I play 10 to 15 gigs a year. I've played over 500 weddings now, and I will continue to do it, not because the money's great, Shadow, but because like that tickles the entertainment bug in me, and I need that.
You're a man of the people, right? So
Love it. People's champ. 2013 and 2014 Michigan DJ Olympic People's champ. Forgot to put that on there.
I love that. Now I'm going to cover the last bit of your career, and then we're going to go into some like actual conversation because I like the backstory here. So the marketing. I mean, you have the platforms that you do, and now you're doing marketing for I think one of the biggest companies around, at least in the area.
Yeah, in the area, mostly Michigan based, but we're expanding regionally and now up into Toronto area. But Shadow Head on. I'm the marketing and sales director for the branding agency AZ Branding Solutions here in Owasso, Michigan. And it's kind of funny how I landed in marketing. When you are what we call an expert in personal branding, like you don't realize that you do it your whole life. And I 2 years ago decided to leave my job as an operations director at a recycling facility and get into the budding wide world of cybersecurity as a public relations and event marketing specialist. And loved the job, hated the industry. No surprise here, people in cybersecurity are very dry. If you're in cybersecurity and you're listening, you know what I'm talking about. Still love you. But no, I was doing a podcast with a guy named Tony Nash, who's been a good friend of mine for about a decade. And he had let me know that his company was kind of looking for a sales and marketing director. And I said, hey, Tony, I don't know if I'm ready for that. And he goes, of course you are. He's like, you're the most like prepared statistically person I know. And you're also one of the most creative people that I know, which is news to me. But about a year and a half ago, I took over there, and man, it's just been nothing but growth and expansion. It's really cool because I get to meet and talk to so many different business owners of so many different sizes and really analyze and break down how they're reaching their audiences. And there's such a cool parallel to like pro wrestling in this that I'm actually penning a book right now about the relationship between pro wrestling and marketing. So it's been cool. I speak on it. I do the speaking tour, the presentation tours, and it's just a cool world to be a part of, man.
I love that. I'm going to have to get a copy of that book signed, of course.
Yes, sir.
So you touched on something there, and I lost my point because you divulged more. Actually, I got it back. I'm just gonna say 3 letters, and then I'm probably gonna cry a little bit. OHL.
Ah, yes, yeah, the Ontario Hockey League. I'm glad you said that. So
yeah, you have the pleasure of working with, I believe, a couple teams, right?
Yeah. So last year, the Flint Firebirds approached us, formerly the Plymouth Whalers. And, this is a dream for me. I played Pee Wee hockey when I was a kid, always a huge, huge NHL fan. But they needed somebody to do graphics and animation for the stadium. And that's something my company had previously not done. But the person we brought in, our creative director, had done it for a couple of different organizations, arenas. And so, I decided to talk to their marketing director, who was a good friend and a beer league hockey player teammate of mine. And so we got to start doing work with the Flint Firebirds. And, the cool thing about OHL is it's very family based in the organizations, everything from the coaching staff, the organization, the players, the billet families, like it's so great. And so, we enjoyed working with them. I got to do some DJing as their Flint Firebirds DJ for a bit. Actually, we are doing a wrestling show with them on November 16th as a promotion night. I forgot to tell you that.
Ooh.
But that led way into us also working now with the Memorial Cup champion Saginaw Spirit, doing player and stadium graphics for that. Yeah, I know that hurts your heart, buddy.
A little bit.
Hey, 2 days from now, my Flint Firebirds open against your London Knights. So
yeah, I'm still a little hurt about the way the London Knights season came to an end, and very dramatically, I should say.
Nah, we always know that the OHL champion never wins the cup.
Yeah, but it still stings.
Yeah, stings. All right, buddy.
But at least we can agree. At least it wasn't the Sarnia sting.
Yeah. No, hate playing the Sarnia Sting. Their fans travel really well.
Oh, so does London's at a degree.
Yeah.
I live without giving away where I live, I can go to games. I go to more away games for the nights than I do home, because I live not close to London.
Yeah.
But it's always fun traveling to arenas and being the away fan, because what's going to happen?
Yeah, and OHL's got some cool barns too, man. Like,
They really do. There's some questionable ones, but a lot of cool ones.
Yep, talking about you, North Bay.
Don't say that. That's where Northland Wrestling's from.
Oh no. Listen, if anybody's listening from the North Bay Battalion, awesome concept, great team name, color scheme, great. Bro, you got to change the logo.
Yeah, well, they took it from the Brampton, right?
Yeah. And while I'm on that, the Sudbury Wolves, I mean, come on.
They need to
be. It's like Wile E. Coyote if somebody drew it in 1978.
No, they need to become the Sudbury Blueberry Bulldogs. Like,
also that, yeah.
They just need to adapt it now. It's a thing.
True.
All right. So we covered some of your life and your journeys, and now I'm going to get a little sentimental with you for a second. I owe a lot to you, and I owe a lot to Nate, because you two helped me find my voice on a platform a couple years ago, and it has slingshotted me into this position I am now, where it helped me branch out and use Off the Top as a great outlet and become what we are now. And I'm doing different things that I would never have done, and I owe you and Nate a lot of that, because you helped me break that voice that I needed. So thank you for that.
Oh man, dude, I'm speechless, man. Our pastor gave a sermon on Sunday that talked about it, as as humans, we can never aspire to be perfection, but it's how we use the gifts that we have to help and touch others that really sets us into the kingdom of heaven. And it's like, man, that hit right there, brother. I love you and appreciate you, man.
We don't talk as often, and I love you and appreciate you as well. We don't talk a lot because you are busy, Nate's busy, I'm busy. But I feel like when we do pick up the conversation, it's like, right, we just talked yesterday. Like, that's a nice feeling, and I love that the commodity between us.
Cool, man. And yeah, I'm looking forward to for him and I growing in dadhood like you've been for so long, man. It's nice to have.
I'm very proud of both of you in that sense. Especially Nate, man. That kid has been through a lot, and he's making it way.
Yes, sir. That's my son.
Well, all right. Enough of the sappy crap. Oh, big wrestling fan, WWE, AEW, Impact. What's your go-to? I'm sure it's WWE, but what's your go-to if you're not catching WWE?
ROH, man.
Yeah.
Ring of Honor has always just been the cool thing. What's nice about Ring of Honor is it's attainable for a lot of indie guys and girls to get in there. And but still, it's like big enough of a platform to where you get to have these long-term stories told. And I think that's what attracts me a lot to WWE too, is like you have long-term stories being told. And the cool thing is Ring of Honor can now do that through other promotions. And you hear Ring of Honor stories in WWE, in AEW, in New Japan Pro Wrestling, in NXT. Like you hear like continuations of that stuff, right? Styles and Samoa Joe, everything with freaking Joe Hendry, Orange Cassidy. Like you hear like the lore of ROH is freaking everywhere, man.
Sorry, there's noise happening.
I got a cat screaming outside my room.
It's just a lot of noise that's unnecessary at the moment. Okay, so ROH. Where do you stand with the AEW thing and WWE thing? Like, I know you're probably not as keen as we are in the sense of what's happening in the social media world, because you're a busy guy. I'm sure you don't pay attention to half of this crap. But with the tribalistic views of AEW, WWE, where do you sit with that?
You know what? I'm the kind of person who's just like, enjoy what you enjoy from a fan perspective. There's a really good book that I read recently called Fans First. It's by the guy who started the Savannah Bananas baseball team, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. But it talks about how the only opinions that matter are the ones of your fans. And if you truly listen to what they're saying and apply it, then you will succeed as a sports entertainment route. But also you'll be so endeared by the people that they don't really care. They're just being entertained. And I think like there's two ways and there's two strategies about going, about things in, entertainment as a business. You can go the feud route, right? Biggie and Tupac, Mariah Carey and anybody, Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears, NSYNC versus Backstreet Boys, Brad Pitt versus Johnny Depp. Like you can do so many of this, like this versus this, or you can do, the collaboration type stuff, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, Evanescence and Linkin Park. Like there's so many examples of like, I call it the mega powers effect, right? Mega powers. But I appreciate more when you see the collaboration than when you see the battle. So many people clamor for the Monday Night Wars to happen again, but the Forbidden Door stuff that you're seeing more often, NXT having in TNA guys and AEW having in Ring of Honor guys, and you seeing NJPW people all over the place. Like that's what I've been clamoring for. Is that kind of collaboration where it could be any given night and, you get Jordan Grace shows up somewhere. It's just freaking cool, man.
I mean, for myself lately, and this is like not me blowing smoke up anybody's ass, I've taken a real keen interest in a lot of indie stuff more than I have the mainstream stuff. I'm enjoying the indie stuff a lot more.
You believe in Joe Hendry. I get it.
No, absolutely not. No, I don't like that guy, and I truly mean that, and I'll explain why later. But like, I feel like I've mentioned this in a couple of my interviews recently. Stop this.
Gotcha.
I've mentioned this in a couple of my interviews recently. I am sick of professional wrestling, and it got to the point, and it'll make sense in a second. It got to the point where I was highly critical of everything on my screen, and I was digesting it and then picking it apart. And this is wrong, and that's wrong, and this is wrong. Up until we're in September at the time of this recording. WrestleMania was April, and in April, it changed for me, and I went back to viewing it as a kid again. And that's because my 5-year-old is a big Cody fan. And watching how she responded and acted watching that match and her emotion going, the excitement to the oh no, to the excitement again, and then the big excitement at the end, it made me realize I was viewing wrestling wrong. And she brought me back to this.
That's so cool, man. We did my company has a podcast, No Easy Way Out. And we did a whole in my office is not like wrestling fans in the least bit. Like they'll come to my matches just to see me and support me, but they could not care less. And I had shown my CEO Tony like a couple of, I was like, I want to do a podcast on this. Like it made a great article up on our blog. Like I know he was a fan of wrestling in the 80s, but I was like, I know you will, like as a branding person, as a storyteller, like watch these couple of matches from this WrestleMania and just tell me what you felt. And he said, I have no idea who Cody Rhodes or Roman Reigns are. He's like, I remember The Rock. I remember Dusty Rhodes. He's like, they somehow told a 40-year story in that match. And he's like, I'm not even a wrestling fan. And I knew exactly what I was supposed to be doing as an audience member. And going back to that Fans First book, like, man, they nailed it.
Yeah, they really did. It's great under the new regime. All right. I'm not going to keep you much longer. I'm going to fire out some rapid questions and then we'll close out. Because I know you're a busy man. You have a newborn-ish baby. So
I'm surprised I haven't been yelled for yet.
That's why I'm trying not to keep you too long here. All right. I'll name off a few questions here. Favorite WWE or professional wrestling match in general and why?
Ooh. match. Jeez. I mean, you could say the main event of WrestleMania this year was one of them, but I think a lot of people have this one. WrestleMania 3, the day after I was born, in a hospital less than 10 miles from the Pontiac Silverdome. That's a cool one right there. I was born March 27th, 1987. Of course, you guys know when WrestleMania 3 was, and Royal Oak and Pontiac, Michigan are very close to each other. So I was pretty much born right before WrestleMania 3. But Savage Steamboat from that is just a master class on storytelling. So that's probably got to be my favorite.
Fair. Hogan or Savage?
I'm gonna go with Randy Poffo on this one.
Love
Like
that answer.
I think he had to fight more for what he got. There's a bit of a redemption arc. Obviously, he was a if I'm not mistaken, he played for the Cincinnati Reds in the MLB. And yeah, man, it's
Sounds
cool.
like-
The way his brother talked about him at the Hall of Fame speech, man, brought you to tears.
Last wrestling question, and I'll ask a few more questions. This is a little difficult, but I need to ask because I know you're an open-minded person.
Mm-hmm.
Can you separate the art from the artist and give this artist a Hall of Fame induction? And by that, I mean Chris Benoit.
Oh yeah, 100%. I like. It's funny, man, when R. Kelly went through all the R. Kelly stuff, and man, what a shit person. And then, the same thing that Diddy's going through right now, shit person. The thing is, their music, right, man? R. Kelly wrote some of the greatest R&B jams of all times, right? Puff Daddy, Pete, whatever his name is. I don't care. Whatever. Go to prison, bro.
Prison Daddy, how about that?
Yeah. Like it, man, he was such a good mogul for the hip hop industry at the time. Like, had we not had those people in that industry, the industry wouldn't be the same, if that makes sense. From a work standpoint, right? So, I like to say that represents a moment in time in the art doesn't belong to the artist at that point. It then belongs to the fans, to the audience. And you can't take that away from us based on something that they did. So yes, we all know what Chris Benoit did, and whether it was steroid related, whatever, I don't care. Like, solely you are to blame for that, Chris Benoit. But from the fans' perspective and how he touched my life and our lives, I think it's worth it.
Fair. Now switching into DJ, favorite venue you've ever done?
Man, the arena in Mandalay Bay, Las Vegas.
Okay.
Like, so cool.
Favorite event you've hosted as a DJ?
I got to do the United States Armed Forces Armies and Generals Conference this year on Belle Isle in Detroit. And kind of weird just being background music for the highest ranking officials in the U.S. military. But man, so cool. Like, they had just connected the Gordie Howe Bridge at that time. And sunsets over Detroit from Belle Isle, I know this sounds super weird, but are so freaking beautiful. And to play with that at my back while you had a bunch of our nation's heroes out there, was so cool. That's
commendable. Yeah. Okay. Favorite part about being a trophy husband?
It's especially after I got divorced, you never, like, you always have doubt, like, am I going to find somebody that matches my energy, that matches my outlook on life? That's somebody that's going to be my rock, somebody I can get emotional with, somebody who I can really get deep down in the dirt with, and somebody who can make me feel the way that she does. Not only is she just amazingly, uberly talented as a choreographer and as a dancer still, when I watch her, it's just how, but man, she is, what an amazing mother. I say our kids, even though, the 12-year-old boy and the 4-year-old girl, they're not mine. I still say our kids. And man, watching them grow and seeing her be in this type of environment where, she's free and she's happy, and she's not having to deal with traumas of past life is just, man, astounding. And she fills me up every day, man. And we have fun with one another. And, like any good couple, we, spat sometimes. But like, man, being with your old lady for as long as you do, you spat sometimes and you get the fuck over it and love each other because that's what you do.
Yeah, a lot of this generation forgets that.
Amen, dude. Amen.
All right. Now, I'm going to ask your favorite part about indie wrestling thus far in your career, but I'll also tie in the world record part there too, because I feel like it blends.
Man, my favorite part about pro wrestling is the people. It's not just the, it's people sometimes forget, like, you play characters in a ring, right? And it's cool to know these people as real people and, get to hear about their lives and their families and their passions and their careers and their aspirations, but like also just them as people. It's, I say this to Courtney all the time. I have never met nicer people in my life than those people that I've met in indie wrestling. They are the most caring, compassionate, will give you the shirt off their own freaking backs, always cheering for you, whether, you're active on the roster or you're not, always willing to, hey man, I cut this promo. What do you think? Like, I thought you did pretty good with this. Like the feedback is great. Everybody's so open-minded. Nobody takes offense to stuff. And it's like, that's just the performers, then you meet the fans of indie wrestling where it's like, you might only be wrestling in front of 150 people in a night, right? And they make you feel like what you do matters to them in life, and it fills you up. And you feel like, yeah, man, I do this because I love it and I enjoy it, but also like, man, that did something for somebody.
You're absolutely right on that. I've made friends in the indie circuit up here.
Mm-hmm.
It's the reason I continue Spotlight with Shadow, because a lot of them have been, hey, let's do this. Nicest people, and I've become friends with them.
So encouraging.
We chat, and I bounce my creative ideas off them, and they love the feedback. They love what I'm doing and stuff like that, and I love what they're doing. So it's a great thing. And like you said, it's the nicest thing, nicest humans you meet. I thought hockey was a brotherhood growing up playing it, and then I come into indie wrestling, and it's very similar in a sense. And it's just,
I know, in the weirdest places, right? It's just
right.
how one of these things is not like the other.
Right, one gets, they will all get beat up, right?
Oh yeah, for sure, man. But yeah, so I'm so happy you found that up in Northland, man.
Yeah, it's great. I love them all up there. All right, Casey. This is the part where I let my guests plug everything they need to plug and find people where they want to find you. And by all means, sir, take it away.
Oh man, like I'm too humble for this, but dude, seriously, appreciate it. Thank you for having me on the show. What you're doing really does matter, man. And like, I know it touches a piece of you in your heart, and it's something that you really enjoy and a part of your life. But man, when you have a show like this, the people that watch, the people that listen, the people that follow, like, means a lot to them too, man, and myself included. Like, I love seeing you do what you love to do. So that's big. If you want to check me out, man, you can find me on YouTube, either DJ Chewy, or check out AZ Branding Solutions. You can see a lot of my work there, animation, video work, voiceover work, all that cool stuff. Or on Instagram, The Real DJ Chewy, right there, or TikTok, Casey_Lambert. But yeah, man, I am not sure when this is going to air, but I have a upcoming match on November 2nd in Owasso, Michigan, at the Sandlot Sports Zone. So that should be fun. And I don't know, man, I don't know if I'm going to have any matches after that, but let the future come, right?
Yeah, that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, he is a record holder. Go get a real book and highlight the hell out of his name. And remember, don't do the online crap. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of Spotlight with Shadow. Thank you, Casey, for giving me your time and away from your child. I appreciate you and your loving wife to be. I appreciate everything you've helped me do when it comes to finding my voice, if you will. I owe that a lot to you, as well as Nate, along with the other people that have helped me along the way. Can't forget about those people as well. Mm-hmm. With that being said, people, support indie people, support everybody that you can support, and show them love, because you never know where it's going to make a difference for them.
Amen.
And with that being said, this has been another episode of Spotlight with Shadow.